warranty.
Okay.
And that's how everything is. If you get a quote from Donahue, Wagner, any of those guys, if you look in their contract, all of them are 3. I don't even see 5 anymore. I'm the only guy that does 5 out there anymore. But on any of them, residential or not, it's a 3-year, even though you might get a 30-year shingle or a 50-year shingle, if you look down in the fine print, it's a 3-year craftsmanship warranty. And part of that reason is in Montana, we're crazy. We got harsh weather, we get storms, we get, 60-mile-an-hour winds, and then you get it goes off in 5 years and somebody says, you got to come replace this. Well, it's been good for 5 years. We got 60-mile-an-hour winds, but because they think it's a 30-year shingle, they think, that roof is responsible for 30 years. So that's kind of why it says, hey, this is a 3 or a 5-year craftsmanship warranty, but your material is 20 years. And I tell people this, because you got a 30-year shingle in Montana, did your roof last 30 years? No, probably not. But the best you can do is go with the best and hope that you get the longest out of it. That's why I say, it says it's a 20-year warranty. I hope it lasts 20 years. I think closer to 10 to 15 would be an honest number, and that's just me being totally honest.
Yeah, but that means the material would, if it happens in 7 or 10 years, the material needs to be replaced. That's for free. It's just the labor to put it on would be an ad, right?
Right. That's where you should, if it doesn't, like if the material fails before then that's when we get the rep up there, like the Geico rep. It's called Geico as a product, but that's when you get the rep up there and you say, hey, what happened here? And so that's where we go and we cover all our bases to make sure that doesn't happen, right? We go and we turn around, we power wash the roof. First, we're going to seal any areas that we know has an issue. Like you said, okay, we think it's leaking in this area. We check all the seams. If we find any top seams, we seal it because we don't want water running in there while we're power washing it. Then we go up and we power wash the roof and we scrub it with brooms and squeegees to give ourselves a very good clean base. And then we squeegee it off, we let it dry, and then the next day is when we come and we hit the coating. And we do one good coat, and then we do the walls, and then we come back if necessary, because it's all on a mill base. So we just want to make sure that we hit that 20 wet mill. But like I say, most of the time guys are getting, I'm charging them for a 15, and there's people getting 30 right now with me. So I just apply it like I would want it applied on my building, right? I'm not trying to skimp out on material. I would rather not skimp out on $2,000 worth of material and have to come back in 3 years. That's kind of my thought process, right? So I just put it on, that way everybody's safe and sound for a long time to come.
Good. So what do you guys think?
I think it's a great idea.
Mike, you think, should we give them a go-ahead and say, yeah, we want to do it?
Can you tell us
You
one
guys
thing?
are gonna love it. I'm the best at what I do. I really am. I care. And I could bring down a sample. I'm working in Roundup today. I could bring down a sample and leave it on your guys' desk so you can check it out. I mean, you're gonna love it. You're gonna be good to go.
That'd be
Great,
great.
you could do the whole top of our
It's
desk.
hot pink, right?
No, it's a fluorescent, it's a fluorescent purple.
Oh, Dustin, can you explain the warranty process with the manufacturer? Is that something that we would register? I know that that's how it is typically with shingles. It's registered through the manufacturer, or do you do that on our behalf?
Is she talking to me?
Yeah, basically, how do we guarantee, how do we get registered for the manufacturer's warranty so that we've got a piece of paper that we can go back and say, hey, we got a problem? How does that work?
Let me look into that for you. I've never been asked, ever, but let me look into it for you. I'll call the rep today and find out what needs to be done. I hope it's not something like TPO. So to give you an idea, like on your average TPO roof, most TPO roofs ain't even warranted, and I'll tell you why. So I was just talking to a guy yesterday, and I said, hey, how long do you guys warranty your TPO roofs? And he goes, well, the only way you can really properly warranty a TPO roof is with an engineer. And I said, really? Well, it's got to, your material warranty is this long and yada yada. And he goes, yeah, but in order to properly do it, he goes, which I think this is kind of a gimmick, but what they do is they say, okay, well, we got to have an engineer come in and make sure that, to tell us the way water rolls, basically, that everything's set and right and the water's going to roll the way it needs to. The engineer has to sign off on it, and that's the way that they get their warranty. Well, I said, what does that engineer cost? He goes, on the last roof it was $35,000. I said, wait, it was $35,000 for an engineer to tell you which way water rolls? And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, huh. So he goes, yeah, some people just go with a reputable company. That way if something does go wrong, they're there. But they just go with a reputable company so they know it's going to be a good job. But he goes, we only sell about 1, maybe 2 warranties a year, and we do between 100 and 200 flats a year. He goes, because nobody's willing to pay that 30, 60, 90,000 for it to be signed off on. He goes, it all depends on the size of the job. So I haven't looked into it with steel coating. I just have never had a problem with the stuff. But I will look into that for you guys. I'll drop that sample and I'll let you know what they tell me today on that.
Yeah, but like, if you buy shingles, you'll get a warranty on the shingles.
Yeah.
That's really how we're looking at this. There's a craftsmanship
Right, but-
where, you know.
Right, and that's what I mean, but there's not a piece of paper that says, hey, you get a warranty. I mean, I've had shingles where, I mean,
Exactly.
you know, I did shingles for 15 years, 14 years prior to doing this stuff, but anyways, you know, I've had where we started installing shingles and there were two different colors. This happened in Billings. It looked like, it was called up white. And parts of the roof looked like it had an amber color to it. So I called the rep and I said, something's going on up here. I said, these look like two different colors. Well, he gets up there and he said, well, yeah, you're right. They're two different colors, but there's nothing I can do about it. And I said, well, it's clearly a manufacturer issue. He goes, yeah, maybe, but there's nothing we can do about it. Well, anyways, I fought that for about 3 weeks because I just installed an entire brand new roof and you couldn't tell while you were on it. But when you step back to the road, you could see it. So I fought it for a few weeks. They covered 20% of the material cost, and I covered all of the rest, the other 80% out of my pocket. Plus, I took the hit on the entire labor side of things. So when I say, do they warranty their product? Not like they should. You might get something, but never in all the years that I've done it has there come a piece of paper with any asphalt roof that I did that said, hey, we're going to give you a 30-year warranty on your actual shingles. I mean, it does say, hey, they're a 30-year shingle, but, I mean, I got both reps, the Malarkey and the Owens Corning, and I got the Tamco rep all saved underneath my phone, so I know these guys personally, and I've never got, I mean, I'm an Emerald installer with Owens Corning, which is the second highest level that you can be for Owens Corning, and I've never been given a piece of paper that said, here you go, you got a 30-year warranty for each job you do. I mean, it's just...
I
you know,
understand,
you
I
have a piece of paper from
understand.
your contractor saying it was done, and that's about it.
I understand, but for like specifically with Malarkey, I was in this situation with a client and they had manufacturer's defect on the shingles. And because they didn't within 90 days go onto their website and register their roof, it's kind of like the same with appliances. I understand they don't give that to you. But like when you buy a new appliance, they want you to register it. You don't do that through the Home Depot or whoever you purchase it from. You have to go on their website and register. The same thing happened with them. Manufacturer's defect on the roof. The roof is 3 years old and they paid for nothing with Malarkey.
Right.
So what I was wondering is with your product, if what the process is, because you did say that it was 20 years on the product itself. I was just wondering
Right.
how we get in a database to make sure that we get that warranty, or because what I thought I heard you say afterwards is basically they say it's a warranty, but not really. Did I misinterpret
Yeah.
that?
No, you did. You heard it right. I mean, that's just me being totally frank about it. I've never seen I've seen an issue with a couple asphalt roofs. You know, I have yet to see an issue with this stuff. Not saying it couldn't happen, but I've just never seen them honor it like they should. I mean, I've seen vinyl one time that it was just totally the sun was making it bow, and there was nothing that could be done. We tore the whole house down and we did it one time, and we got the rep to come over. And he simply said, $2 for Montana. And I said, what do we do? He goes, there's nothing we can do. It's not the material's fault. So we ended up tearing it back down, and I paid for a lighter color for that job particularly. But I've just never heard of any of them actually covering their material. And
Do you
that's
have a
what
rep
changed that.
that you could drop off their phone number when you drop off the sample?
Yeah, I got a rep.
Okay,
Yep.
that'd be great.
Okay.
Well, anyway, go ahead, drop it off, and you got a green light. I guess, Gary Lynn, we've got his thing,
Yeah.
his quote to sign. We'll have the quote signed, and then you can coordinate with Lori, Lori Janet,
Okay.
when you wanna do the work.
Okay. Yeah, I will, and I'll drop that stuff off to you guys. And, you know, I know that not everything right there might have been exactly how you wanted to hear it, but I'm an honest contractor, you know, like I said, I'm not somebody that's I'm not a salesman by nature, so I'm not sitting here trying to BS you just to put a dollar in my pocket. I'm here for the long term, and I'm just telling it how it really is, you know?
Okay. All right, well, I think that's it.
All right, gentlemen, thank you, and I hope you have a good day, and I'll swing that by tomorrow.
All right, appreciate
Thank you
appreciate the call, thanks.
Yep.
All right,
Likewise. See you.
bye.
Yeah, hang on.
he's wrong on that.
There's a process. You just have to go through the process.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
we'll
but my
find
dad
out.
was a roofing contractor, I know he's wrong. People, when you pay your bill, you get a warranty from the roofing
Yeah.
contractor and
That's
the
right.
manufacturer.
Right.
You know, and you get, so, and architects and engineers, if you're doing commercial work, they'll demand a letter from the manufacturer specifying the project. And, so, he's just wrong, but if he's been doing it for 20 years, the rest of it sounded, you know, actually, the more he talked, the more nervous I got. But, he's experienced. It's still, you can't expect the world
Oh,
with what we're doing.
I think there's a way. That's why it's like, give us that rep's phone number because we can call ahead of time and say, what do we need to do to get this
Yep.
product
That's exactly right.
registered with you?
I think you're right. You're dead on, okay.
I was concerned we kept sending the honest contractor.
Well, like I said, the more you talk, the more I began to wonder.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Was that Halloween? What was that ringtone? No, it's not.
Halloween.
Hi.
Well, there he is.
How's it going?
How's it going?
What roof are you redoing?
They're actually just gonna spray it with 20 mils of
Oh.
silicone.
Silicone.
Yeah, didn't you just have this done? Not too long ago?
They did some acrylic,
Is it leaking?
yeah.
Well, whatever they put the first time didn't work. So we
Okay.
had to have them come back and redo it.
He thinks it had an acrylic the last time,
Yeah.
which was, who knows?
Well, Lori's on top of that. She,
But the guy that did it the first time, he's dead.
And he had a warranty.
That died with him.
lifetime warranty.
So they had to have it
Limited
done
warranty.
afterwards. He was playing on Flathead Lake in a side-by-side, and a side-by-side went through, and he drowned.
Ooh.
It went through what?
The ice. Yeah.
So
But-
it could happen.
Yeah,
We
So
should
they
warn-
ended up-
We should warn this guy.
it was a mess. Well, he had retired. He had actually retired like
Oh.
a week, 2 weeks before that. I mean, he was prepared to. He had people lined up for warranty stuff. I mean, he was good because the same thing happened at the ambulance barn. Some problems, but he was aware of it and was, taking care of that. And then I see in the paper, and I was like, I recognize that name.
Ah,
And by golly, it was.
yeah. Things happen.
It is. It just sucks that it was just right after he retired.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Well,
But like one of his friends said in a Facebook thing, he died doing something he loved. He
Yeah.
loved ice fishing. Why you would love ice fishing, I don't know.
It's the one that Cartel did, was it?
Yeah, well, I don't know. There's not much for coverage out there. Anything can happen.
it's an interesting theory.
So I was sitting down with my budget stuff, and I have
Oh,
some ideas. If you guys,
This is good.
You guys can tell me.
Actually, let's see if Justine is, if not, we'll still.
you coming back? Oh.
well, this really doesn't matter with her yet, because this is. I'm asking for the world. I want $45 million in my budget every month.
Every month.
Every month.
So
Me
this is
too.
Just
No
a couple of
problem.
things that, that I've been kind of owly about the full proceeds for a while because of how it's distributed.
Mhm.
But the last year, we've been quite a bit slower. Last month is the slowest in terms of build out stuff we've had in 5 years. So
Concerning?
it is. And I've talked to a bunch of different services across the state, and everybody's dead right now, which is good. It's good, but it doesn't pay the bills. So, oops, I'm sorry.
Hello, how are you? Christina, nice to meet you.
She's an accounting specialist.
She's the catch.
Nice.
She
Are you
can't-
from here?
Millstone.
Why should I? Did you look very familiar?
Oh, I work East Circle School.
Oh, I don't go to school.
Yeah.
You been in an ambulance lately?
No, I can't say that I have.
This is Ron, the world famous Ron.
The world famous.
Yeah.
Legend.
I break
A
every-
legend,
I
yeah.
break everything. and then fix it to make it look like I did something. That's great.
Sometimes he answers
know,
his
until you
phone and
just said that, we did
sometimes
not
he
know.
doesn't.
Yeah.
Last week, Bonnie had told me you guys had stuff scheduled for my time, so I went to Billings. And he called when I was out of service, and by the time I got it, it was around 6 o'clock. I didn't figure you wanted to call back. Sorry about that.
No, you get called. I'll take it.
All right, let's go through this.
So, this solves a couple different things. We talked about this a couple years ago. I had put this on a budget paper and we never really discussed it or did anything 2 years ago. But we used to have a communications fund, and that paid for communication stuff in the county. So we weren't running on 911 to fund the everyday stuff. Although we are certainly allowed to do that, but we were trying to save that for more, upgrade and 911 based stuff. So my thoughts were to create that account, fund it at least the first year with some proceeds money. I know it would take what do they call it? Resolution to change the way it's done, but it's doable. Because the accounts that are getting funded primarily with with a lot of the proceeds money have a pretty big capital improvement thing right now. And they've got a lot of money. The sheriff, for example, has a bunch of money in capital improvement. And we've got some needs, definitely. My thought is this year, if we could do that, we could, between this and 911 funds, we'd be able to replace that, the paging system completely.
See, now you got me baffled. So, we're talking about, what were we talking about for dispatch that was, you've already paid for this
The
upgrade?
911 system
The 911 system,
has nothing to do with paging.
okay, okay, 911. So you're asking for money for communications, but not 911?
Right. And that would, for our repeater sites, sending me out to do things. Right now, all the fuel and vehicle costs for me going to the repeater sites, that's all borne by the ambulance fund. And
Okay.
making it, trying to make everything a little bit closer to where it's coming from. The other thing, since I do a bunch of different stuff for the county, I was thinking to separate out like we used to do with dispatch when I had it, but 25% of what I make comes out of the communications, and I was thinking we could do 25% out of the data processing, since phones, computer stuff. That would relieve some of the burden on the ambulance budget too, and be a little closer to, I wouldn't be making any more money, it's just splitting up what I have.
So what's this fund that you guys tap for the communications? That's got state money in it.
Right now, we use 911 for most of it, or,
So you're basically saying,
well,
that money you still need for that money you still need, this is for communications other than,
this is to offset, the regular communication needs that we have. Road department isn't generally 911. They're using the same system, but the county has use for this, for the communication systems that isn't directly related to 911. And that's what we used to have. It was 2855 was the fund number that we used to have. And back when we were having all of the troubles with how things were getting reported and, that whole mess with the accounting issues, we eliminated a lot of stuff just because things got screwed up. And it wasn't a big deal because I was carrying a lot more on the ambulance, but I'm not able to, as I was, buying portable radios for the sheriff's office. I mean, we had a lot of money in the ambulance, so it was really easy just to take it out of that. That's not as easy right now because we're in the hole still. Like I said, we only billed out $28,000 last month, which it's been a long time. I mean, it wasn't too long ago, last year we had $100,000 months that we were billing out. There's another service in Billings that does non-emergent transfers, so we're not getting the calls like we used to. Roundup has that van that they got, and so they're doing some of the doctor's appointments that we were doing before, and which I mean, great, you know, it's an awesome resource, but that is a significant hit on our budget. You know, sure, some of the repairs and fuel is down because of that, but my basic labor doesn't change a whole lot. Now, we've been catching up on some stuff, and that's great, but that's just kind of what my impetus for this was.
So if I understand, I'm gonna kind of cut to the big picture.
Mhm.
So you're suggesting we open a new fund
Mhm.
and we appropriate $300,000, and that's gonna be funded through Cold Gross proceeds?
Mhm.
And then we also increase, what's the other 300 here?
For the ambulance, to the ambulance.
So we would be taking 600,000 from Cold Gross proceeds and giving it to those two things?
Mhm. For this year, and then, you know, see where things lie. We've got some, you know, we have no cushion, no budget, or no, like I've had for 30 years. It's just,
You know, Ron, I think we have flexibility with the Cold Gross proceeds, what Darcy was telling us.
you can
But
put
600
it
grand's a
all.
lot, 600 grand's a lot.
It is, but we've got a paging system that needs to be fixed. that
So
we
what
can't-
did we spend the 300 grand on the upgrade for that we haven't utilized yet?
911 system, new
That
phone
was
system
not
and
paging,
911.
okay.
Nothing to do with paging.
911 phone systems.
It's the whole deal that interfaces with the state routing system.
Okay. This is paging, the other one's
Right.
paging. Are there any paging alternatives? Actually, this is classic for the 911 communications committee. So that,
Well, that discussion we had 3 years ago too. That's 2 years ago, I brought that to you guys too, but I wasn't able to, we never talked a whole lot about it.
Yeah.
But that was, the recommendation from the committee is that we get that communications fund back open and for using for some of this stuff. So, and as soon as Justin gets back from vacation, we're gonna have.
yeah, and I think we kind of want to run this by that committee. Also, well, I understand what you're doing with your time, but just so that doesn't get screwed up, you fill out your timesheet that way, right? You'd fill out your timesheet to split it between the different funds.
What happens is, you're familiar with it, there's just a spot where you put 25% to their 25, because I'm not hourly.
Yeah, he's
I'm
salary.
salary.
If there's a way, my whole point is, if there's a way to do that in the system, then
Yes.
we don't mess it up.
Because I was part of, I think, was it 45, went to dispatch before, and the reason that was actually coming out of there before I was even in charge of dispatch, for radio stuff. That's why that part was coming out of there. So my understanding is you can just set it up, certain percentage fund, as I
Yep, that's
recall,
correct.
so it's easy to do on our end.
And you're basically saying, communications is different than EMS, but you're saying that if we did this, it would help your EMS, because you're not getting the call revenue.
Right, and I spend a lot of time, I mean, yesterday, I spent 4 hours on a phone issue, you know, and it doesn't, I'm salaried, so it doesn't really matter, but in the grand scheme of things, some of that should probably be coming from the area that it pertains to. Does that make sense? Before it wasn't a big deal because we were doing great. I mean, I had lots of budget stuff and it wasn't that big of a deal. But now we're starting to have an issue that maybe it's time to start taking things from where they belong.
Okay.
If that makes sense?
Well, it does, I mean, always, if we can allocate, but I think we need to kind of study this a little bit, but I would like to throw it in front of the 911 committee to say,
It's on the agenda.
yeah, I mean,
It is,
you know,
but
basically,
we're getting close. I just wanted to make sure I had you guys
And then we got, but we can't say you didn't bring, you know, not, you've raised it, $600,000 issue,
Mhm.
you've raised it with the budget. We need to look at how the, you know, it kind of, there's a lot of factors here, but I know you're aware of them. But Darcy mentioned that, you know, the way that the coal gross proceed is proportioned is exactly the way that it's milled, with the way the mills are.
Right.
So those that get more mills get more coal gross proceed. She says it does not have to be that way, and that we have to do a resolution to change it. And there are certain people getting mills that we went, not mills, but getting coal gross proceeds that we said, wait a minute, why do they need that? So there may be some opportunity, but I'll tell you, there's no $600,000 worth of opportunity.
Well, and
Somebody
it's-
isn't gonna hit the roof when they,
Well, and ultimately, it's up to you guys. I
it
mean,
is,
we've been kind of shortchanged EMS from that because of the way
it's milled.
it's done. But, you know, look at some of these budgets, they've got some pretty heavy, capital improvement stuff there. So I'm not saying that we're gonna do this every year, that's why I put first year on there, because I think especially something like with coal proceeds, if you're gonna be making the decisions to look at that, then that's gonna be something that you're gonna wanna look at every year. Okay, the sheriff had a big problem and, you know, he had to cut into his stuff. Maybe he needs a little more this year. This department, fire department, maybe they had a whole bunch of fires, lots of repairs. Maybe next year they need a little bit bigger chunk. But I guess I see the coal proceeds as a chunk of money that you guys ultimately need to decide.
It's an absolutely valid point. Do you guys wanna do it this way, or do you wanna?
But where's that money
Where's that money best gonna
gonna be
be
used and most appropriate? I mean,
Not that it's wrong the way it is, but it needs to be, it's nice to know we have that flexibility.
right.
What do you guys?
So that was my thing. I mean, I just wanted the thing
Makes
with my,
almost perfect sense.
the thing with my pay, I'm not asking for more money, okay,
No.
just so that's clear, because,
Bottom line.
With your pay,
yeah, it's just dividing up where it's
I'm
coming
not gonna
from.
give it to you anyway.
I know.
oh yeah, we were.
But I just, like I
No,
said, this is,
we basically are saying that you wanted it, because it will help your EMS budget
right,
if,
And
because
it's-
you're doing work, you're doing more than EMS work on it.
right.
So, I don't have any issue with
And
it.
it's, you know,
I'd give it a shot.
Just so we get it accounting right, so that we're not screwed
Right.
up. And believe me,
if something came down the pipe, yeah, you know, to where I'm not doing that anymore, then that's certainly something we would look
Yeah.
at that point and say, you know, hey, we need to put this back. I'm just, you know, right now, I'm not used to
Not having
scrambling
that
for
little
money.
set.
But